Hello, good evening and happy Sunday. Welcome to Sandra, Stampin' with Sandra, Sandra's Stampin' Craft Studio. Today we're continuing the watercolour month, and today I'm going to be using the watercolour painter, the water painters, these ones here, okay, and we'll be doing different techniques, different ways to use them. A variety of ideas for you, so you don't have to have set things to be able to use. There is one more thing I might just show you. I might do that on another one. Let's get down onto the table. I'm sure somebody will come in. Hi Lizzie, there's somebody here, that's good. I always like to see that I'm in the right place. Okay, doke. So I'm starting off with the catalogue here, and I had a choice of 3 different stamp sets today. I wasn't 100% sure what I wanted to use, but I think I've made a decision now, so having put them all in here. For watercolouring techniques, you need to have an open stamp, so you're going to colour in, and we're going to do some heat embossing today as well. So I've got my heat gun out here. Just get the dimensionals out of the way. Okie doke. Hi Marilyn as well, that's lovely to see you. Okay, so if I look through the catalogue, I'm going to bring you up a couple of stamp sets, or 3 stamp sets I think. So I went through my catalogue, everything I have highlighted in yellow, then there are stamps that I have. So I pulled out a few here that I think might work nicely. This one I mentioned the other day when we did the tissue paper technique. Ooh, something's just dropped on the floor. So this was the Quiet Meadow stamp I used, and I was saying that this one would look quite nice for this technique as well. Dainty Delight, it's one that held over, and I only bought it as a bundle because it was holding over when the catalogues changed, and I got the 10% off. So it was one that I kind of liked, but if it's there for another year, I know I've got another 12 months use out of it. So I've got that one in mind. Which is on page 22. Then I got Good Old Playing in the Rain. Look at this, these cutesy little people. And I thought that this might be better. I might just emboss one of these images as well to show you the difference. Okay, so I've got that one, and Playing in the Rain is on page 60. And then I went for another one, which was In the Moment, and that's on page 96. Hi Susie, hi Linda. So you can see where the open work helps. This one I loved using the paper piecing as well on here, so we might do that one as well, but that's another good one for colouring in. Okay, so I'm going to try and theme this today with the ink colours. I've got a few other colours here as well, but they're my 3 stamp sets I've got out at the moment. So get rid of the catalogue on the chair, and you know what? Sitting here, I know straight away that my trimmer is around the other side of the table, because that's where I left it earlier. So I'm going to get down to nitty gritty. We're going to get some embossing powders out. We're going to stamp some images. So if I bring my little kit over here, these are the ones I used last time, but we need those. We need a peg, and we need whatever colour we're going to use. Now, I was thinking today I was going to show you some of the ink colours as well. So these are the new ink colours. These are the water-based markers. So I'm going to just get those out to show you. And because of using these, we've got gold that would go with the wild wheat, but we also have silver that would go with this one. So I'm not 100% sure yet which one I want to use. So we might do one of each. So I have got in here, I've got the silver out. So black might look good actually. I might go with black. Okay, there's a little bit of gold in there. Yeah, let's see where we go with that. Okay, look. So, don't want the white. So there's a black. There's also the clear. Now there's a reason why I'm going to say to do clear as well. White, stick, and clear. So let's put the paper for that one there out of sight. And let's go with the black one first, I think. Let's get that gone. So different things going on here. So as always, we need our little dust buddy. This will just stop the particles from landing where they shouldn't be. We're going to need this. Now I've got out my Fluid 100 here. The Fluid 100 is what we use for watercolouring. This is the best one to use. Okay, so yeah, as we go through, you'll see why the inks flow so much better. You can use the white and the shimmery white, but with the fluid, it is watercolour paper and it will run much better. And I also have a little jam jar here of some clean water. We're going to give it a wash as well. So I must run round. I'm going to just switch the camera over to the... You need a dust buddy. Yes, you do, Linda. I'm just going to run around the other side a sec, just to get my trimmers. I can't cut anything without my trim. That one, and little baby somewhere. There's a little baby. Been sitting around the other side of the table today so I could watch the television, and they were all sitting that side. So I'm going to start off here with the Fluid 100. I'm going to take one of these sheets. I'm going to cut it in half to start with, because these flowers in here, if I get one of the bigger ones out, peel that off the stamp set, I'm thinking that's going to go onto half a sheet. So let's just cut this in half. I haven't got the measurements in my head, but I've got the grid paper here. Just as a trick as well, when you know last week we had the centimetre side up. When you want to then turn it over and you want a clean sheet the next day, just put a little glue in a tiny dot, or tiniest little bit, just in each corner, and turn it over, and then on the pad, and it won't move. So it looks just like it's one of the pad in here, but it's actually, last week's turned over. So the inches on here are 7 inches. So I'm going to cut this at 3.5. Okay. I think I said last week that the grid pad is available to customers as well. It's in the catalogue. So I've got one of those pieces here, and I'm going to take a large block of that stamp set, and this stamp is going to fit on there. That's going to be good. So plonk in the middle. Okay. And we'll do the Dust Buddy. So Dust Buddy, literally just make sure we have natural oils in our hands. And if I've touched my fingerprint on here, it's the powder could actually sit on here on the fingerprint, and then when you go to emboss it, you're going to have a nice big fingerprint in the way. So we don't want that. So we're going to do this way first. So I'm just tapping the Versamark. The Versamark is clear, it's sticky. You've probably seen me use this before. I'm not sure, it's looking fairly wet on here. So that's good, fairly juicy. So first thing, we cover this up before we move on, because we don't want to get particles in there, because it gets it really messy. Because this is a long block, I've turned the whole thing on its side. Okay, because that's how I prefer to stamp, rather than top to bottom. Glasses on, and I'm just going to get this into the middle of the paper and stamp that down. Okay. The reason I'm doing clear first is it helps me not have a black ink to clean off to do a clear one next. So I'm doing it in this order. So make sure that that's really nicely down. Lift it off nice and clean. Now I have got the tray, I've shown you that previously. I do both ways. That's gold, don't want that one. Okay. This is the black. Okay, they come in two colour families. They come in, one is the metals and one is the basics. So you've got black, white and clear in one pot, one family, and then you've got the gold, silver and copper in the other. Okay, so I'm just going to turn that over and flick that on the back so that all those particles fall off, and there we will have a nice crisp clear image. Okay, so before, put that to one side, and then I'll get this back into the pot. This is just a piece of Stamparatus paper that I have in my caddy, so when I go to use this, it's always there and handy. Any particles out of the way, stamp set out of the way. Oops. These are my metal bins, sorry, the enamel bins. So now I'm going to use the heat tool, just warming that up slightly. Hopefully it's not too loud. And then I'm just going to heat this until it melts the powder. Now, if I just pop that in the peg. There's to hear that. Hi, Joy. chat to you later. Those of you who follow the GIST, the Global Inspiration Stamp Team presentations, you'll know that we did a presentation to everybody last week. So we're just having a catch-up chat tonight. Now, I'm going to bring my glasses down again because I can't see whether that's going yet. Oh, it's very delicate. So the black powder will only have stuck where the detailed image is. So because it's quite fine, you will have quite a fine image. Okay, it'll be hard to show you this on the camera, but I will try my best. So basically, you're heating it until all of that powder has turned shiny. I've just got a tiny bit at the top. It is possible to overcook your powder. It might sound daft, but it is. And basically it gets to the shiny point like this. I'm going to bring it up to the camera. So you might not see it. I'm going to do my best on here. Can you see any sheen on that, on the camera? Okay, hopefully you can see some sheen, but it's a really nice edge. And because it's raised, the powder is raised, it will actually give you a little ink wells, if you like, to paint into. It kind of like holds, it's a little barrier, if you like. Think of the days of peel-offs. I used to love them and then soon hated them when I found Stampin' Up. But the peel-offs give you a raised edge, so when you're watercolouring inside it, it kind of like that seeps underneath sometimes where the glue is. But this is doing the same sort of thing. It's got a nice little raised border, and we're going to now watercolour into that. Okay, so we're going to pop the glasses down again. And we go to the water painters. Now the water painters come in 3 different sizes. Okay, so I'm going to take all 3 out, discard the case. I've still got some powders on here, I think. So we'll start with the very fine one here. This is the fine nib. I'll leave all the nibs off today. Okay, this is the broad nib. Okay, and then this is the wash. Okay, I will just grab a piece of kitchen roll here and paper towel. It's been used for ink for earlier today, so that's off the camera, out of the sight. So what I'm going to do first is just to get the water pot out here. These are water brushes and they do suck up the water, so I have got water in there, so I can just squeeze that through and just get that nib wet. Okay, there you go, it's now coming through. Okay, so it's got some water coming through that one. Just going to squeeze this through. Oh yes, that's coming through nice and fast. This one is stained because I've been using the colours with the red pigment in. And as the stamps stain, these do as well. Okay, and there is the fine one coming out. So they're all ready to go. They've all got water in them. Okay, so we don't need this. If you didn't have water painters, you could use a fine paintbrush. Okay, I love this one for a wash, so we might use that on another technique, on another one, and do a nice wash through. And the others just depending on the size of the area you're painting. So today, because it's so delicate, we'll probably be using the fine one most. So if you have a paintbrush, then you can just dip it into your pot of paint. These are just little mini jam jars. Dip it in and wipe it through on your paper towel. The reason for that is you don't want it to be saturated, you just want it to be just wet. Okay, next on to how you're going to use your inks. If I go with Wild Wheat, I'm going with the ink colours today. So Wild Wheat was one of them I've got here. I've got the re-inkers aren't all the re-inkers that I was going to use. Let me just try a different place. Pebble Path might be better. Okay, so Pebble Path, I have the ink pad here. So you can squeeze the ink pad, that's number 1. Okay, and then open that up and you'll have a little well in here. So you can paint with that. Wow, hubby just brought in Pims. Excellent. That sounds like a good idea. So the ink is squeezed from the ink pad into the well here and that's ready to use. Okay, so that's one way. You have these are the water-based markers. So if I just show you with the same colour, we'll keep it consistent through. You can use, I have an old tile here, and use the wide end on here, the broad end tip. You don't have to have a laminate, a tile, so I can't get my words out today. This is just a kitchen bathroom tile, and I scribble on here, okay? And then I will take the paint off from there. Okay, just move those over out of the way. So if I just pick some up on the little brush, okay, and I just pick some of that up. It's a wet brush, and I'm just going to paint with it. Okay, so for this one, I would do things like stems. I'll just grab that paper back. Got a little scrap in it. Again, I store this in the clear mount cases and just put the wrapper in there. So this is a good little sample for me just to show you on. So this is watercolouring with just the fine tip and the ink from the marker. Okay, we can then go back to this one. I'll show you this one as well. And just pick up the ink from here. Again, it's more concentrated because it's a solid ink. So it will appear darker, and do the same with this. Okay, so that's the same colour, Pebbled Path, just using two different ways. And then we have the third way you can watercolour is by using the re-inkers. Now, I thought I had re-inkers for all of them, I don't. I've only got 3 of the new ink colours. Now, because I'm going to change colour, I will squeeze this onto the paper towel and just stroke that brush. You don't want to scrub it. You want to be very gentle and just clean the nib of that. Okay, and then I'm going to show you I wanted to use the pinks again today. So you can, again, with the same way with this, you can have a tile. If you don't have a tile, any piece of plastic would do. You could use a block. So for this one, I'll just show you on a block as well, I think. So just squeeze a couple of drops on there, and that is all you need. You really want a tiny amount. So I think I will use the bubble bath with this one as well. When you put the re-inkers on your tile or your block, or even a laminated grid sheet. I laminate these grid sheets quite a lot. They're really handy to use. Any plastic, even your case, you could even stamp on your case, put some ink on here and paint from here. Any piece of plastic. Yeah, recycling, just think about recycling. Anything that you can have, even like calendars, if you have calendars and you have this is quite concentrated at the start there, sorry. I should have said to you to just put a drop of water in there as well. Okay, and then that will flow nicely. Okay, so that's that one. I'm going to clean that. If you have calendars, you often have a front page and a back page, and I use that for pieces like of acetate. So this is the darker one. This is Moody Mauve, okay, so I'm just adding water to that to make it the colour I want. Okay, and we can colour with that as well. Okay, so there's several different ways of watercolouring, how you can get your colouring medium down. Okay, so just showing you different ways. You don't have to have all the tools to be able to colour. All right, I'm going to keep this one on my brush. Okay, and I'm going to come in here and paint some of these flowers. Now, because it's got a little wall around the edges, it's going to help you not go over the edges. You probably want to just have that brought in a sec. Let me come right down, there we go. And then just keep dipping into your paint palette. Okay, and it's going to help you stay within those lines. Okay, like so. Now I'm going to bring the paper towel back, and I'll just squeeze that through and rinse some of that out. If you wanted to have that lighter than that, you have a clean brush and you come in with that water. And I'm now going to make this one pale. Okay, I'm going to bleed some of that out, wash it through, pull some of that out and wipe it on here. So you're basically picking up some of that ink and you're making it lighter than what it started off with. Then take a clean piece of the paper and blot it. Okay, if you've got that water in there, you can blot. Just make sure you have a clean piece of paper each time. Okay, and there are my little flowers. Can you see those? Okay, if you want to then go in with darker on some of the edges, you can. But it's just a case of if your ink is too dark, I'm just going to touch in a little bit on that one, just to go to the edges. You're stretching that ink. If you think it's a water-based ink, so the ink pads, the re-inkers are all on the the markers are all water-based inks. Okay, can you see me up there? Yeah, just so yeah, they're all water-based inks, and it will stretch. So the water will actually bleed that, and if you blot it, think of blotting paper when we were at school. You can blot that, and it will pick up some of the colour. So on bringing this one back again, I'm just going to wipe my block that side. Put a little bit more of the lighter pink in. This is Bubble Bath. It is a paler colour, so we don't need so much water with that one. Just a tiny little squeeze from the brush. Okay, and mix that in. So we can have a few of them in that colour. So this one down here. Okay, and if it's too wet, we can blot it. Okay, and if you bring that up, you can see the difference in the colours on there. Think you make your water pens too wet? Definitely. Yeah, just use kitchen paper, just kitchen roll. It works a treat, it really does. So then the rest is we're just going to colour these in. Now you can vary the colours, you can do something else in there as well if you like. I'm thinking I might like to put some of the lemon lolly. So the other way that I'm going to show you all different things tonight. So this way, instead of squeezing it into the middle, if you aren't strong enough, because the cases on here are quite strong, what you can do is just touch a little bit of the ink onto a piece of plastic again. So you could tap it onto the side of your ink block, your stamp block. You could put it onto a tile like this, and you're just going to mix that in. I'm not sure if I clean my brush. You just clean that again. The emphasis is on keeping it clean all the way through, otherwise you'll muddy your colours. So I'll change that and get another piece. I had one ready. I don't use tissues for this, as in like tissues, pocket tissues or anything like that. The only time I would be inclined to use those, and I have, is when I'm on holiday. I love to take this pack of my water pens with me and the watercolour pencils. And I will just sit and have some images like this pre-done, and then I will colour them in while I'm away. Okay, so I'm just going to squeeze that through there, make sure that's clean. Okay, and pick some of this up. A little tiny drop of water coming out. Okay, if you're a bit heavy-handed, you could always have a spritz bottle. This is an old Body Shop bottle, and you could put mist. This comes out so fine, it is just a mist, so it's a bit lighter for the colour. So some of these ones here, I'm just going to put a tiny little bit of colour in. Maybe a little bit darker because it's a paler colour. Try not to get my head in the way, guys. Okay, this is just going to break up your colours a little bit. Okay, it is a very small stamp, delicate stamp, so it's not going to show up hugely. Okay, some of those yellow ones down the bottom, and maybe these ones up here. Just tiny little dots in those to give it some colour. Those of you who are keen gardeners, you can tell me what some of these flowers are. Okay, I'm going to clean this. So I've put the delicate ones in the yellow, lemon lolly, and then I'm going to come back in here and put another darker one down this corner. Okay, just bring it back into your little puddle of water, and then you can just spread it out. We don't want it to be too dark. Okay, we've got different shades going on here. A little bit more from the base. You can blend these out by literally just taking, put a layer down first like I've done here, and then bring out a little bit of dark up from the stem upwards. So you know how veins bleed out? It's nice to do that as well. Okay, now we're going to just clean that brush, and we're going to go for a green. There was no greens in the flower 1, flower 2, tiny flower. What's that for, my dear? I'm not quite with you. Okay, what greens have I got on my desk? I've got a mossy meadow here, which I think will go nice with those. So mossy meadow, and I shall squeeze this. Okay, and then come back in. So there'll be some in there. If the cases can be a little bit tough for dexterity problems, there we go, got a little bit more now. Move those two out of the way. Should be out of the way of the camera. And then this one, I'm just going to take some green and do the same. So I just want a little bit of water in there, just the wetness from the brush. That's too much. And just drag some of that down so it's not too hard. Okay, so we're going to just colour in these little leaves up here all the way down. I'm going to be doing a big wash background on another session, on one of the other ones. I've got a list in my phone of different themes I came up with that I can show you different things for all the Wednesdays and Sundays in July. A bit of a hair in there, I think. One of the cat's hairs has got in my paint palette. I can see it, it's just driving me. Yeah, look, there we go. Get that hair out. I think it's gone. Smudge or Tigs. Okay, so it's just literally using the tip of that brush. Because it's delicate, I'm not using the bigger ones tonight. Little goes a long way as well. And you'll find when you play with it, you can actually vary your colours. You can vary the shades, like I've just done here. I've done a dark and a lighter, I've blotted it. I've done the lighter one and I've blotted it. And then this is the darker one down here. So you can vary your colours really nicely with this. The water will make it run. And you can dilute and then remove some of the colour. I know it sounds daft, but you can actually remove some of that colour. Okay. So have we got any keen watercolourers on here? I'm going to clean my brush. There's a reason I've just done something, and I'm just going to make sure it's nice and clean. Now, you might not be able to pick this up on the camera. Oops, new comments. Free cat here with every activity. Absolutely, Susie. Okay, so in here, can you see just above that leaf, I've got a little dot. You might not be able to see it on there, just there where my tip of my brush is. So I've got to make sure my brush is squeaky clean, okay, which it is. And I'm going to just come in from the other side, and I'm going to get that, and I'm going to try and take some of that away. Okay, so we can blot. Clean brush. I'm not sure it's the ink or whether it's I think it's a speck of actually the black embossing powder. I don't think it's in colouring at all, because the lines are there. You can't. I'm going to have to show you this when I see you in person, those that are local. It is forming a little barrier, so it shouldn't have gone outside. That dot is actually a piece of the stamp, like there's one there, so it's actually black embossing. Okay, but there's my little piece of watercolouring. Okay, just get that in camera again. So it is very, very delicate. Just started doing colour wash backgrounds. Hide a multitude of sins. Yes, you can see it. There we go. But I thought it was a spot of ink from me going outside, but it wasn't. It shouldn't be because of the barrier. Okay, so that's all that at the moment. So there's my finished piece. Now, there is another way you can actually colour the background where you're doing something. How can I describe it? Let me grab another piece of paper. Okay, and I'm going to wipe this down for now with my dirty piece. Okay, and I'm going to get my spritz water, not over my work surface, but I'm just going to spritz this off the table and just clean that down. Otherwise it'll spritz all over your surface. Okay, make sure it's nice and dry, and that goes in the bin because it's inky. Okay, so if I'm going to do a wash on here, I won't make this one up at the moment. I wonder what that was. I've left me wet wipe sitting on there. So this is the blue, boho blue from the In Colours. So this is another pastel colour. So love this blue. I think we got spoilt by knowing it was coming because of the mini cut and emboss machine. So on here I want this to be quite pale, so I'm going to squeeze this through and get some water coming out of there. Okay, that's just for the water side of it. Now I'm going to use my wide brush and I'm going to mix that in. So I want it to be nice and loose. Okay, we can even take a little bit more. I find I can control the narrow one easier. So that's why I'm using it for the water. This one's so big a barrel here, you're going to get all or nothing. So you are going to get a lot. So if we want it to be nice and fluid, okay, like so. So one thing before I do this onto the paper, I'm going to keep that one well out of the way. I don't want to spoil that. So with this one, let's come out a little bit for you. Okay, I am just going to use my spritz on this, again, just off the table because I don't want it to go everywhere. I'm just gently wetting that on both sides, okay? So it's just put a little bit of water on there. So when I go in with a wash here, it's going to be nice and loose, and I'm literally just going to brush backwards and forwards down your paper. Okay, you can build up those colours, but you can't, it's easier to do it from standing if you like. So just putting a little bit of a wash through there. Okay, I was just going to leave a bit of white all the way around the edges. So that's giving it just a very, very pastel colour for a background. Okay, can you see how that's gone? So that's just very, very pastel. It looks really, really nice, but you'll learn to control the amount of water you need by the shade you want. So that is wet, but it's because it's watercolour paper, it will not pill, okay? But the camera shows that up better than it is actually in real life, so that's good for you. Okay, so now I've got the right shade. This can be done something with later. You can then stamp this over the top of it. Because the background is so pale, I could now go and do this over the top. So I could repeat this over there and I could stamp in the black and bring that through. Okay, so that's number one. That's number two. We're going to use, what was I going to do next? Tell me what I was going to do. Oh yes, with that background, just get that off that brush and clean it. I get in the habit of always leaving my brushes clean. If you put it down and you're not sure what you're doing next, or you're going to use a different colour, just keep that clean. Get that flushed out. That one might even need the little jar of water. Okay, so if you just dip it in there and wash it. It's just a faster way of doing it. Sorry, just bring that back on camera. Can you see that? So just using that in there and just washing that. It's a quicker way to clean than just squeezing it all out. Otherwise I'll have to go back to the sink and fill it up again. Okay, so just again stroke it nicely. So I'm going to use that same blue here, and I'm going to take this round the outside just to give this a little bit of colour. Oh, come in a bit. There we go, bring them down. Just try to keep you in focus. Okay, so we know that this is nice and pale, so it's not going to be, it's going to be like the colour over here, okay, that we just did. So now I know what colour I'm getting. I'm just going to come here and I'm going to just lightly, very lightly, come around the edge of the image, okay, just giving it a shadow. You can do this with blue, you can do it with a grey, a very pastel grey. Okay, I just want to give a little tiny bit of shading around the edge. It's going to be like a halo. Sometimes you see things like this in printed version. Because this works really well when you've got the embossing, the black embossing on it, because you have got that border. Okay, so just come around all the way around the edges. I'm not making it very deep, just a very, very soft colour. Okay, whiz round here. If I was on YouTube, then I'd just be able to fast forward. Okay, so that's kind of, if I show you halfway, Can you see that that's just going to be that light little haze around the outside? Hopefully that's coming up. You want it to be quite pastel. You don't want to be the main focal point. Okay, you're just going to give that little tiny bit coming around the outside. When you have a dish like this, you might find that your inks will start to run, and they might run off your palette, so to speak. Okay, so just be mindful of that and have a piece of paper towel ready to use if you need to soak a bit up. It seemed to be flowing towards me, but that might be the way that I'm stretching it because I'm painting this side. Okay, are you loving this so far? So it's Watercolour Month for those who've just joined me tonight and not seen the rest of July so far. Okay, so I'm trying to bring you something different each month. I have got a list in my phone, like I said. If there's anything particular you'd like to see, then let me know. But I have kind of got a little plan. And of course, saving the best till last. So be sure to be with me at the end of the month. I try not to go over my watercoloured areas because you can pick that colour up. There we go. And back to where I started. Now the gaps in the middle here, you can fill those in as well if you like. It's entirely up to you. I'm just going very quickly just for time wise. I'm sure you'd like to see something made up into a proper card. How are we? 20 to 9 already, look. It's going to be a very straightforward card anyway. It'll just be a nice simplistic design. Just filling in some of those. And of course, you know the rule. If you want to make it lighter, if you've gone a bit dark anywhere or want to speed it up, then you can just blot it. All I would say is use a clean piece each time. Okay, and I think you should be able to see a nice little haze around that. You know, like I say, you can go back and fill in any little gaps that you want. But I really like how that's turned out. So I'm going to clean my brush as always, so I always put it down clean. All right, just squeeze it through and nip it, and that goes in the bin. There we go. So that's colours for now. We don't want to contaminate those. So I'm going to bring that back out a little bit. Okay, oops, a daisy. So colour-wise, I didn't bring the card either. I've been using stuff over the other side. What have I got here? I've got Berry Burst. I've got some note cards and envelopes, and I've got some. I've got the grey granite. I thought that these would be nice because they're neutrals. I need a splash of this one. My scraps with the Berry Burst. That's not going to be big enough for that, I don't think. No. We've got a lot of white on there. I am thinking I need to get the actual cardstock from the other side of the table. Leave that there for a sec. What we could do is actually put this on a note card. See whether this will fit. That's the first rule. So see if it will fit. Because if it's going to be too large, ooh, we don't want to spoil some of that white. I think we'll go with a full-size card. I'll take it out and see. What are you thinking? Have a look at those and see which colour you think might look nice. And I'm going to run round and get my other cardstock. Oh, just got to tie my top up. I leant over and I untied my tassels, so they're catching everywhere. So I'm liking these together with that one or with that one. Grey granite. Grey granite was always my favourite, Anne. think, yeah. Oh, you like the darker one, Marilyn? You've got 2 grey granites. I'm gonna, and my favourite is grey granite, so I'm going to go with grey granite. I'm going to do that as the base, so it keeps it neutral, but I'm going to put some of these colours in it. Okay, so now down to the trimmer. So we'll start off with a base card. I've got none on the back here, so we'll just quickly cut one. So you could literally take these on holiday, like I do, score it for it first. If you emboss some panels like this before you go away, if you're going away for even a weekend in a caravan or something, you could take a little box or a cello bag with these in them. Just going to score that one ready, fold that one in the back. Yeah, and just take a box of pencils and your water brushes, and you can just sit and while away the hours. I don't think I'll take it to in August when I go to convention, because I'll have far too many people to talk to, won't I, Joy? But next year when I go to Portugal for my birthday, definitely 2 weeks in Portugal, I will definitely be taking something craft-wise to do. Now, with this one, if you see my base card here, I've got a bigger border at the top and bottom. So I want to take a slither off the either side. So let's take baby. And we're just going to take a little slither. And I mean a slither, it's literally going to be probably a couple of mils, really. I'll take that down to the 9.5. Okay, so I've just taken half off each side, and those borders are looking more even all the way round. Okay, get rid of those. And I might have a double layer on here. I'll get that one. Yellow. You've seen me do this before. I hold up the card to the edge of the card here and just give myself a little border as to how I think it's going to look. So like so. You've got Lemon Lolly and the Berry Burst. If I take one of those away, if I take that away, I think it's kind of muted, quite dark, but then I do like the Berry Burst. If I do this, the white and the yellow a little bit makes this pop more. So I could do that. I think somebody suggested Lemon Lolly and Grey Granite. Yes, I think that looks quite nice. And then maybe have a, excuse my arm, a scrap, something like this coming through as a little banner maybe, with the sentiment on. So we bring the colour back into the card. So now I'm going to measure this. I know that went down to 9.5, so 8.5, sorry, 8.5. So I'm going to do, 9 on that one, half a centimetre up, 9 by 13 and a bit. Nine, 13.3, that probably be. Okay, let's have a look and see what that looks like. So have you got a nice even border? That's what we're after. When I did the last live, I was eyeballing and showing you how I put a little pencil mark on the back. I quite like that. That's good. Keeps it nice, quite dainty actually. If I do this, it's quite bold. Get rid of the big one. Bring the little one on. Got a banner there. We do need something. We definitely need something. I think I'm going to stamp the sentiment in pebbled path. Okay, so we keep those greys coming back through, and I'm going to stamp it onto the lemon lolly, and then give it a matte layer of the pink. Oh yes, now well done, Susie. How can you see in my house? I have all the ribbons here. Well done. I deliberately got them all in. So That's the mauve. It's quite dark again. This is the wild wheat. So wild wheat is the darker shade. I haven't got the re-inker in that one. Just got to cut the plastic off here, just a sec. There we go. I think that looks quite nice actually. That could wrap round, couldn't it? Keeping the yellows through and take the pink away. So let's look at that. Or we can try the path. See, I like that one actually. I like that. It will look like a bouquet. Yes. But I was going to put the sentiment across there. So what sentiment was I going to take out of this one? We've used this before actually. We've got thank you for your kindness on there. It's quite a big greeting. Or, I know what I was playing with today. The charming sentiments. These are really nice. So you can find something that's going to fit in there with this for the flowers. Could have just have a nice simple just for you, couldn't we? Any choices on here? Yeah, the pink was too heavy. I agree, Marilyn. Embossed strip and greeting on a smaller strip. I'm tempted to go with this because of the layering. I've just got to work out which word I'm going to use. See, I love the thank you ones. Let's have a look at the size of the greetings. Good luck. Oh, you know what? I could have a good luck. Let's just see. No, it's not going to be appropriate. Sorry, I'm trying to think what I've got coming up. Faith and fear, no. We'll go with a thank you. Sorry, decisions. Just for you. Just for you is quite small. I do like the just for you. You can see which ones I've used, can't you? I'll do both of those. And I like what somebody suggested in there with regards to the black embossing. If you're all right hanging around with me, guys, I'm going to emboss this. Now, how I use my blocks when I've got two greetings, I put one on that end. You don't want to put anything this end. I turn it over and I pick this one up that end. All right, so you can use two on one. So because we use the watercolour paper here, I'm going to make sure I use a scrap of the watercolour as well. If you put white or cream with it, vanilla with it, it wouldn't look the same. So you need to have a little piece of this. So what I'm going to do is reuse the backing of this, okay, because you won't see through it. So first things first, Dust Bunny along the strip. Whoops, a daisy. There we go. And then the black again. Versamark is hiding from me. There. So I'll put one on there. And stamp that. Oh, it's close. It is close. Right. Press down really, really well. I like the fact I'm now using the grid paper because you said that the white is easier for you to see. It brightens the table. So I'm using that and it gives me that cushion that we need. So pop that back in there and sprinkle the powder over. I was going to do yellow, wasn't I? Lemon. Okay. Let's do these and then I will get you to tell me which you prefer. Keeping this away from the powder on the table. I'm just trying to speed up. Oh, it's starting to go now. The heat is going away from me, so off screen, this direction that way. My rule of thumb is always to cover this up, and I didn't, so there's one on there, and then we will do one on a scrap of the there we go. So we'll do the dust buddy. And this. Trying to juggle everything on my table. Okay, plop that on there. Go away, fly. Okay, and then I'm going to quickly turn this one round, and I'll do just for you this end. There we go. Pop the powders over, one each end. There we go. Put some more on there. It's not quite. Tap it so it's going to go all over. That's better. And I will, now we've finished, I will pop these in the caddy, put the lid on the bottle, put the lid on the ink, and then we can hit. Oh. So, I can just see, probably not to the naked eye, but I can see, even without my glasses, there's a tiny little bit of black in there. That's it. Now, you've heard me say before, none of this wafting. The idea is you're concentrating it in one place. Keep your fingers out of the way and use the peg if you've got a small piece of card. Okay, that's all shiny. So I'll turn it round and do the other end. Just moving it along as the powder melts. Now on the bottom. There you go. And as soon as it's shiny, you just stop colouring. Okay, we won't use the watercolour one. I think I'm going to use the yellow. I think I like that on there. So, you know, when I put these through the machine, I always say to cut away the excess. That one can go in my scrappy bits. And I'll bring the little machine up. They're going to cool a little bit more. I'm going to stick these two layers together. I think I'm going to pop this. Do we want it around both layers or just the top one? I think just on the top one. Yep, let's get that one anchored down. So decide where you want to put this. I'm going to, just for quickness, I'm going to put some tape on the back here. Just start that off. And then lap that over, like so. Then we want to keep it straight. So my best judge of this is to line it up at the top on the lines, and then on this one here wants to be on that line there. So I'll put that exactly opposite. Okay, a little bit of tape on there, wrap that around, pulling it tight. Okay, and then snip it off. You don't want to waste any of your ribbon. It's very, very precious. Okay, there's a little bit extra on there I can take off just to save the bulk. Okay, and then I will use this while it's out. This is the Stampin' Seal Plus. It's got lots of little strips on it, so I'm just doing dots all the way around. And one in the middle. And this will go onto my layer. Can you hear the little birdie cheeping? Oh yes, Santa. There wasn't. You're on the ball, I think, Zana, aren't you? Yes, it is. It's that day, tomorrow. Now, just because, I'm going to stick that under there because I might like to put a little knot on there. because I've only taped the ends round, it's free for me to do what I like. The ribbon will cause me bulk, so I'm going to put this one down flat as well. Okay, let's just see if this is going to run. Yes, this is good. And I didn't gut tonight. That one's nearly empty. Can you hear the little birdie outside? He's very, very noisy. So I'm going to place this one in the centre. Very straightforward little card. It's nice and clean, but beautifully painted. Hopefully you'll agree with me. So there's we are at the moment. Get those out of the way. And got my little machine, and I'm going to cut those two out. See which we like best, and then we'll stick that on and we're done. Not far to go. So there's that one. So it goes that way. I do need my glasses. I'm getting more reliant on my glasses, guys. I have got a reminder for an optician's appointment. I don't want to go to varifocals because I'm just not liking the thought of that. Okay, so that's one. And this one is thank you. Okay, we'll get those as near as we can to those edges. Sorry if my head's in the way. There we go, and take another piece of tape off here. Hold that in place, just. Plate. Keep them there. Right, there we go. Take those out on the floor. I hope you've had some nice tips today. There's my thank you. There's my just for you, and I'll put those back in my case as they are. And we'll see which we like best on here. Tweezers to get my hands out of the way. So we've got that one to the side, and maybe a little knot. See what you like with the knot, whether you like it or not. Whether you like it or not. There we go. This is just a little bow, just a half knot. I like to tie sometimes. I'll trim the ends off with my big scissors. That looks a bit twisted. I think I did that a bit left-handed style. Let's cut a piece off. There we go. I like to go right over, left over right. We have a way of doing things, don't we? There we go. Pull that tight and trim those down. I do like them slanty edges. Keep them even. Those little pieces will go back in my caddy. The just for you is very, very small. Or we have thank you. Thank you could come just there, but we're going to cover up our little flower. Oh, bless. I think I'm going to put that one down the... Never done a knot idea. There we go. I think I'm going to put that one down there. That looks a little bit lost. It needs to be that bigger. So just take my dimensionals. Yes, apologies those who are now going to go and jump onto the sewing bee or whatever's on next. Is that tonight? I can't remember. Okay, we'll have one of those ones and a little one there just to keep him anchored down. There we go. Down on there and in that corner. We're keeping that yellow coming through. Go save that for another one. There we go. Prefer knots to bows. Yeah, a lot easier, aren't they? They're much easier to tie as well. So you've got the little haze around there. You've got lots of tips along the way. You've got that little blue shadow around the edge. The wash showed it up better on camera, or off camera, sorry. So I hope that you can see all of that. And lots of tips in there, and I hope you'll give it a go. And as always, if you do have a go, then plop some photos in the bottom. That birdie's happy, very happy, isn't it? I've got the window open. It's Love Island, is it? Okay, so everyone's off to see Love Island. Okay, glad you like it. And bring you back to me. Take the camera off. And I will be here again on Wednesday with another watercolour, okay, for the whole of this month. So, yeah, do shout if there's anything particularly you wanted to see, and I'll try and incorporate that in as well. But I have got some nice things lined up for you. Okay, so take care. Thanks for sticking with me to the end.